Hi there, Tatyana. Andrew here once again with a fixed microphone ready to correct your work. So first of all, in this task 1, I would say, this is not necessary. I would rephrase this slightly. I would say the given pie chart depicts information about the income for 3 different countries from, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 different countries from 4 sources in 2014. The countries are, or the countries mentioned are Bensland, Timsland and Jamesland, and the sectors from which the revenue comes are agriculture, services, heavy and light industry and natural resources. I wouldn't use such as when referring to items in a graph, because such as gives a limited number of examples. Such as is just to illustrate a previous point. It is not to refer to exact things that are present in a graph. It is better to use namely or separate it into a full sentence with the sectors from which the revenue originates are so according to the first pie chart, almost 50% of income in Bensland came from farming at 45,000 USD. This is not an accurate phrasing, so I would say, while the least income was from natural resources at only 3,000 USD. And then I wouldn't use this either. I would just say the remaining 50% came from services, heavy and light industry, services and heavy and light industry. Oh, heavy and light industry are 2 different categories. Okay. I would list these separately then. The remaining 50% came from heavy industry, light industry and services. Because we need to make, it's just that we need to make it clear that we're referring to different categories. It sounds like, when we write it this way, it sounds like we're saying services is one category and heavy and light industry is another category. So we should say heavy industry, light industry and services with 20,000, 15,000 and 10,000 USD respectively. That's correct. Here we could say Timsland, on the other hand, sourced the majority of its income from heavy industry while light industry and services, does this mean that each of them were the same? So they each brought in 40,000 US dollars? Because it's not clear. Or does it mean that they brought in a sum total of 40,000 US dollars? So if I think what you're saying is that they both brought in 40,000 US dollars. So the majority of the income came from heavy industry, although we should give a number for this. While light industry and services, excuse me, each produced $40,000 in 2014. Gippsland profited mainly from services with $96,000 of income, followed by light industry, no need for this, followed by light industry with $70,000. In addition, natural resources were the least profitable sectors for all three nations, although Gippsland experienced the highest income from this sector at $7,000. So we must stay consistent with our units of measurement. You've used the letters to type it out here, but you've used the currency figure here. We must be, with our units of measurement and our naming conventions, we must be very consistent. Use the same all the way through. So this question, that computer education is compulsory for young learners in most schools. So what the question is asking is, do you think that this is necessary? Do you think that children must or should learn about computers in schools? Or will children acquire these skills naturally just from interacting daily with technology? So your intro is actually really good here, but it needs to be more accurately related to the question. So we should start with something like, while some argue that formal education in technology is unnecessary due to the daily use, or due to the fact that most children use it daily, or something like, some people believe that children will naturally acquire technological skills from daily interactions with it. Other people believe that they should be formally taught to use computers in schools. In my opinion, so what do you think? In my opinion, computer education should be included in the school curriculum to ensure that students have the relevant skills to succeed in modern society. So, the two ideas: should we formally teach children how to use technology, or should we just leave them to it? Should we just let them use technology every day and just learn from that experience? So the ideas that I get from that are, do we want to have a set standard of education regarding computing, or do we want everyone just to pick it up? Some things to consider. What about the people who can't afford computers? What about the people who only use entertainment apps and only play games on computers? There's going to be great inequality if we just leave them to it, because there are too many factors at play that will decide the quality or the quality of someone's expertise. So we already have lots of ideas to consider there. So personally, I believe that computing should be taught in schools to make sure that students have the necessary capabilities, due to the fact that we cannot be certain that they will learn what is required of them. So this paragraph is actually quite relevant because it makes the case about exposing them to the relevant materials, ensuring that they can participate in deeper research, and avoiding the waste of time. But one thing we need to really concentrate on as well is the idea that one paragraph should contain one idea that is fully explored. Because with this paragraph we have one idea: technology enriches the educational curriculum due to the variety of things that they come into contact with. A second idea, that education with technology is more efficient than using libraries. A third idea about the value of creating a website. So we need really one idea. So let's say that we want to talk about the fact that where students must be prepared with the necessary skills required in the future. So we could say, to begin with, students must have equal access to the skills required by modern society. More specifically, the vast majority of jobs nowadays demand that workers have a minimum level of computer literacy. As we cannot guarantee that this will be achieved in students' own time, schools must take responsibility for achieving this. For example, a child in a low-income family may have access to very little technology, and if his or her school do not take steps to educate them in the use of computers, this could have serious negative consequences for their future opportunities. It is therefore essential that the curriculum contains a minimum standard of computer-based education. So that would be one idea fully explored. So then we've got what should be the next idea? Your idea is actually quite relevant. It argues against using computer education in classrooms due to its distracting effects. So on the other hand, many critics argue that computers negatively affect creativity and pupils' behaviour. There should be an apostrophe here. Pupils' behaviour. It's owned by the pupils. Numerous studies have pointed to the fact that while technology entertains and brings variety into the classroom setting, So this bit here, the goal of a school is not to develop creative thinking or behaviour. The goal of a school is to educate, to inform, to train, to prepare for life. Some classes have the goal of developing creative thinking and behaviour, but only some. And it's the same as well, that only some classes will feature computers. Most actually will not. So I would switch this paragraph to a slightly different idea. Because here, so here you veered off the topic slightly, because you've spoken about the loss of other skills as a result of learning computers in schools. But the question asks, is it necessary to teach pupils computing, or will they just learn it automatically because they are surrounded by it? It doesn't ask anything about the loss of other skills. So this paragraph, I would talk about I would say, secondly, even assuming that all children had equal access to technology, the way in which they use it sorry, I'm just struggling to think of the words for that one. So even assuming that all students had equal access to technology, the way in which they use it would almost certainly differ. While some students may watch educational programs and practice typing, for instance, others may only play video games and watch television programs. The development of each of these children's skill sets would necessarily be very different and result in the same inequality discussed previously. And then we could say, to conclude, in my opinion, it is absolutely necessary for a standardized education in computing to be part of the school curriculum. Actually, we could use lest. I'm not sure whether this is going a bit far, but the word lest, L-E-S-T, means to avoid the risk of. So we could say computer education is a standardized computer education should be part of the school curriculum, lest children receive unequal training and therefore unequal opportunities in the future. So just a bit more reasoning and a bit more on point. Now I'm going to stop this here because this video has gone on for a while. But I think in the future, what you should do when you read the question is highlight the bits that are really, really relevant. So this is a background statement. Computer education is compulsory for young learners in most schools. Fine, we know that. So, do you think that this is necessary, or will children acquire these skills naturally? How will they acquire these skills naturally? From their daily interactions with technology. So, there are your two ideas. Is it necessary, or will children acquire these skills naturally? and the essay should only discuss the points raised in the question. So on the next question, highlight the ideas in the question and then answer only those. But well done, Tanya. All the best, and I will speak to you very soon.